Greetings, my fellow Fright Fiends. It's your buddy Boogeyman Ben here for a new episode of Boogeyman Ben's Horror Zone. This is part 6 of my top 100 horror films of all time. Of course, this is my countdown to Halloween series that I'm doing this year. So each week I am doing a new video counting down 10 titles leading up to my #1 horror film of all time. I hope everyone enjoys this, and let's get started. So starting with number 50 on my top 100 films of all time is going to go to Saw 6. It is such a great film, and I was surprised that it was like the first sort of misfire in the Saw franchise. And it was around the same time the Paranormal Activity series had started to take off and really was starting to overshadow Saw films. But I love the subject matter of this one because it deals with something that I think is so corrupt and so inhumane, and it is the medical industry. And it deals with like medical insurance and these people that run these medical companies, these people that are being put through the tests because they're completely unapologetically horrible people. And it's easily one of the best installments in the franchise. Number 49 on my list is going to go to Halloween H20. I have a real big affinity with this film. I talked about it when the trailer dropped for the new Halloween film, which is 3 weeks away, which is so fucking awesome. But I saw this film summer of 1998, and it was fantastic. Saw it twice in the movie theater. Took my grandmother to see it, which was awesome because she and I have always had a love for this series, and it was fun to take her to see it the second time I saw it, and she loved it and had a blast. And why it's kind of low on the list is just because over the years that I've watched it, I still have a few problems with it. The biggest one is that, you know, the continuity, the fact that they ignored 4, 5, and 6, which, I mean, they're ignoring all of them now for the new one, but it still just sort of sits wrong with me because I feel like they could have worked it into this. And you could see where they could have tied the strings a little bit in terms of connecting everything. My other big problem with this film is I don't like Chris Durand as Michael Myers. He's my least favorite Michael Myers in the franchise. And the fact that he didn't watch any of the other Halloween films and study the other actors that have played him, he just doesn't come off as menacing to me like the other actors did. And and it does feel like a Scream copy. It does feel like it does have a lot of elements that really connected to the Scream franchise, which was huge at the time, and you can just see it, and it's just like, you know, Halloween was its own thing. It didn't really need to play off of the Scream films, but you know, that's what was successful at the time. I understand why they incorporated it into it, but it really feels like it now, and I'm really glad that we're getting a new film with the Laurie Strode character, because I really feel like the best part of this film is the final showdown between her and Michael. It's just absolutely fantastic. But that all being said, I still love the film, still enjoy watching it, and I still think it's one of the best films in the franchise. Number 48 on my list is going to go to Digging Up the Marrow, Adam Green's film. Now, I had a fantastic time seeing this, and I got to see this when Adam Green was touring it around the country. He stopped off in Berkeley, California. That was the first stop on his tour. I got to meet him and Alex Pardee, who did the artwork for the monsters that are in this. What a fantastic experience, and you know, getting to meet both of them and have them introduce the movie. And this film just played upon some of those you know, creativity, imagination that I had as a kid, and I just think the execution is great. I think Ray Wise is fantastic in this as Deckard. I love the practical effects. I know they did use a couple of computer-generated things, but this was mostly, you know, this was all funded independently, and I just love it. It's probably one of the best, like, it's not a found footage film, but it's a kind of a mockumentary, and I think it's just really well done. Adam Green is just a fantastic filmmaker and a fantastic writer. I love everything about it. I love everybody that's in it, and I love how this film ends because it really builds to a very creepy conclusion that sticks with you. A fantastic film that I completely recommend to anybody that hasn't seen it. Number 47 on my list is going to go to the original Scream. I was 22 when Scream first came out. It came out at Christmas time. I remember seeing the trailers for it and was really excited about it. Loved Wes Craven. Had a huge crush on Drew Barrymore. So those are the two elements that kind of drove me to it. I didn't know about any of the other actors. I didn't watch Party of Five, so I knew who Neve Campbell was, but I really wasn't into that show. But holy shit, is this movie fun or what? I mean, it's a fantastic film. The fact that it was shot, close to where I live was another cool element of it. But I just think it was just a really great film, really expertly written, and just a fantastic cast that they assembled. And of course, Wes Craven's direction. It was just great to see him put out a kick-ass film, and it led to a terrific franchise. I still think the first one will always be the best, and what an opening. The opening is just one of the best in any horror film ever made. Number 46 on my list is going to go to Final Destination 2. My favorite Final Destination film of all time. The car crash scene at the beginning of this film is one of the best scenes ever put on film, in my opinion. That scene is so well timed and executed. It just was so effective. But I just love the cast in this film. I love the first Final Destination. I just feel like this one's a lot more fun. They have more fun with some of the kills in this, and there's so much more outrageous and over the top, and there's some things that just really shock you. It was great to see Ali Lauder come back, and of course the amazing Tony Todd. But I think the new cast works really well, and like I said, it's just a lot of fun, and yeah, it'll always be my favorite film of the franchise. Number 45 on my list is going to go to A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors. The first Nightmare on Elm Street film I got to see in the theater. This came out in 1987. I was 12 when I got to see this. Nightmare on Elm Street 2 and the original Nightmare on Elm Street really terrified me, and I was petrified of Freddy. And this one made him more, didn't get him to the cartoonish stage that he got into the later films, but did make him more, he had more quirky kind of comebacks and one-liners and things like that. Even though this film is really scary and really effective, I think this has one of the best casts of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. I love everyone in this, especially Patricia Arquette. She's fantastic as Kirsten. Love Ken Sagos as Kincaid. He's one of my favorites in the franchise. And then Heather Langenkamp coming back to play Nancy Thompson was what made the film for me. It was so terrific to see her back in that role. But you have Craig Wasson, John Saxton, terrific people in this film, and I just love the whole idea. Remaining Elm Street kids banding together in their dreams to tackle Freddy. It's just such a great film, so well done. Terrific direction by Chuck Russell. Easily one of the best films in the franchise. Love this film. Number 44 on my list is going to go to Child's Play. Again, when this one came out, I was older, so this one didn't freak me out. I think if this would have came out, like probably 8 years earlier, this Chucky would have probably terrified me. I absolutely loved Brad Dourif. I knew him from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and, of course, Fatal Beauty, which was also directed by Tom Holland. So it was really cool to see him in this. He looked very similar to how he did in Fatal Beauty, so I recognized him right away, but he is just, his voice and the talent that he brings to the character of Chucky really brings that character, really brings the doll to life. And just such a terrific story. I love the execution of it. Don Mancini came up with a terrific concept, and him and Tom Holland, who collaborated on the screenplay as well, just really made a really energetic story with a really empathetic central character of Mrs. Barkley, played by Catherine Hicks, who I absolutely love in the role. In fact, I really miss her in the rest of the franchise. But then Alex Vincent is terrific, and then the amazing Chris Sarandon, who I was already a huge fan of from Fright Night, just does a terrific job in this. And I just love the family dynamic in this, and then you're just so with these characters as these horrible events are happening. I still think it's the best film in the franchise. No matter how many sequels they make, nothing is going to top this film for me. Number 43 on my list is going to go to The Lost Boys. One of the most important vampire films in my life, and this came out right as I was becoming a teenager. I was 13 when this movie came out, And I remember just being so in awe of this film because not only did it feature some of my favorite actors at the time, Kiefer Sutherland, who I thought was awesome, was also terrified of him. I'd seen him in Stand By Me. Of course, Corey Feldman, who I was a huge fan of and really idolized. The fact that this film was shot in Santa Cruz, which is a place I had been to, and I recognized the boardwalk and everything right away. It was just awesome. I was so jealous that I couldn't have been there when they were filming it. There were so many things in this movie I could relate to. I love the direction by Joel Schumacher. Just a fantastic movie in every sense. It's a true classic and one that I will always love. Number 42 is going to go to Fright Night 2. Now, I know a lot of people don't like Fright Night 2. Yes, it wasn't directed by Tom Holland. The thing I love about this one is the relationship between Peter and Charlie. And I think that is what made me a bigger fan of this than some people. It's a film that really, you feel like lives in the same universe as Fright Night Part 1, even though it's directed by somebody else. Tommy Lee Wallace did a great job directing this film. He had already directed Halloween 3 at this point. I think Regina's a terrific new villain for this film. I also love Bosworth and Belle and Louis, who I think is a terrific character in this. The effects in this are great. I like the story in this. I like that it's somebody getting revenge. That Jerry Dandridge was Regina's brother, and that she's going after Charlie and Peter for them killing her brother. I just think it works really well. I wish we could have gotten a third film with these same people, but I'm very happy with what we got. And I think this is a kick-ass movie, even though it's not as great as the original. And number 41 is going to go to Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning. The first Friday the 13th film I saw in the theater. I got to go see this. The first time I saw this, I was 10 years old. They had just opened a brand new theater in my town. I had already watched Friday the 13th, The Final Chapter, and my mom took me to see this film. I still remember after the film coming out and seeing my friends waiting there, asking, like, all my friends in line. We all went to Catholic school, and it was crazy to think about this now, but just walking out and my friends standing there going, "Was it good, Ben? Was it good?" It was just really, that was so much fun. But seeing this film in the theater, and it scared the crap out of me, though. Leaving the theater after seeing this at 10 years old, I still remember walking to, we lived in a condo at the time, we parked in the parking lot, walking to our place, and I just kept thinking Jason was gonna come jump out and grab me. It freaked me out that bad. But over the years, no matter what anyone says, people sometimes say this is the worst Friday the 13th in the franchise, and it's not. It really holds the tone from Part 4 really well, and I think it's a true sequel to that film, and I thought it was really well executed with John Shepherd taking over the role from Corey Feldman as Tommy, and you see what the traumatic effects of what happened in the final chapter have done to him. And I think it's handled beautifully here. I feel like the spirit of Jason, or, you know, the effect that he had on Tommy, and, you know, eventually Roy, you know, donning the guise of Jason in this, makes me still feel like Jason's in the film, and I absolutely love it and can't say enough great things about it. I think it's a very underappreciated film. So I want to thank everyone for taking the time to watch this video. Thank you for supporting my countdown to Halloween, breaking down my top 100 horror films of all time. I'm really glad everyone is continuing to support this channel and support this series. Let me know what you guys think about my picks down in the comments section below. Would love to hear from everyone. If you want to check me out on my social media links, they are down below as well as my Patreon page. For as little as $1 a month, you can help support what I do here on the channel. It would really mean a lot. And as always, thanks so much for watching, and stay tuned for some great stuff coming real soon. Take it easy, stay scared as always.